Detroit Pistons came into the finals as the new kid on the block, but they got comfortable real fast. They are now on the doorstep of an NBA title, and with one more victory, they'll make all the hard work pay off, all the pain worthwhile, and they'll fulfill a dream whose memories will last forever. The Lakers have run out of tomorrows because today is their day of reckoning. Their drive to glory has been met with resistance as Detroit has hounded them at every turn. Today, the champions must shake themselves free. They've been taken to the limit before and have always kept the curtain from falling on showtime. Pat Riley had his eye on the history books when he guaranteed a Laker championship. And today in Game 6, the proud Lakers face the ultimate test of survival. It's a gorgeous Father's Day Sunday here in Southern California. So much activities for the fathers to celebrate their day off. Down at the marina, for example, there are several out on their pleasure craft enjoying the afternoon. But there's also a lot of fathers who are going to celebrate the day. Action from inside the Forum as CBS Sports welcomes you to its continuing coverage of the 1988 NBA Finals. We come to Game 6 with the Detroit Pistons leading the Los Angeles Lakers 3 victories to 2. The Pistons can wrap it up today, but if the Lakers are to keep their appointment with destiny, they must win not only this afternoon, but come back and do it all over again on Tuesday night. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. I'm Brent Musburger. This is the Larry O'Brien Trophy next to me, and of course, that's what it's all about. The Pistons would like to wrap it up this afternoon. The Lakers have to win the next 2 to keep alive that dream. The last team in the NBA to repeat as a champion, the Boston Celtics back in 1969, it's somewhat interesting that they faced the same situation that the Lakers did today. They were down 3-2. They won at the Boston Garden. They came out here and captured it in a dramatic 7th game. Pressure, who's it on today? Squarely on the Lakers' shoulders. And I had an opportunity to ask Magic Johnson how Los Angeles would respond today.
When you come this far, you kind of get some energy that maybe you thought you didn't have because the stakes are a lot higher than before. I mean, we're playing for everything now. So I think the guys will be ready for the challenge. We just got to come out, I think like we did in Game 5, right at the top of the show, but carry it out throughout the game.
The coach, Pat Riley, saying almost it becomes insignificant for this team if you don't win this championship. Does that put too much burden on the athletes?
Well, you know, it puts pressure on us, but we have pressure on us all season long. But, you know, sometimes you need challenges. Sometimes you need something to motivate you or go for. And I think he just want to throw a challenge out there for us and see if we can respond to it.
Now, as for the Pistons, there is a prevailing attitude on the part of many that their best chance is today, not to wait for a 7th game. Let's go down and find out how Dick Stockton and Billy Cunningham feel about that. Dick?
All right, Brent, that may be so, but as far as the Lakers are concerned, they're on their own. From the moment that Pat Riley guaranteed a repeat champion to the many times he has had to deliver the motivational pleas during these playoffs, the coach seems to have said the right things to keep the dream going. But maybe by now, the players have heard enough. And today, their actions will have to speak louder than Pat Riley's words. And, Billy, I've got to ask you how these two clubs have approached this series. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think, number one, the coaches analyze what type of team they have. Pat Riley feels that his club, the Lakers, need challenges. And that's what he's offered to them all through this year. Now, you look at the Pistons. Chuck Daly says, hey, I got a young team in this situation. Let's make sure it's nice and loose, and that's the way they've been approaching it. But on the court, there's a few areas that the Lakers must do a better job to beat the Pistons today. The Lakers' number one problem is rebounding. Detroit's rebounding edge has increased every game. Here's a play from Game 5 that shows Detroit's control of the defensive boards. After a quick push up the floor by Dennis Rodman, James Edwards will control the offensive boards. LA's other problem has been their ineffective fast break. Magic Johnson has been hounded by the Detroit defense. So much so that at times the Lakers can't get him the inbound pass. And here, 6'11" Michael Thompson ends up handling the ball, which takes away any fast break opportunity and allows Detroit's defense to set up well in advance.
Of course, the tough assignment for the Pistons is having to win the title on the road, but they could be called the Road Warriors, Brent, because they won 2 games at Chicago Stadium, 2 at Boston Garden, and they're going to have to win a pair at the Forum to capture the title this time.
Yeah, Dick, and I think one of the reasons why they've played so well on the road, we've talked about it, is that late season acquisition. In fact, let's go back in history the last 3 years. In '86, when the Celtics won, Bill Walton was productive. Last year, Michael Thompson, coming from San Antonio, did the job. This year, Detroit acquired James Edwards from the Phoenix Suns. He's been part of that bench rotation. Look at the difference in production. If there's one thing that has to change for the Lakers, they must get some production off the bench, be it points or rebounding, because this 9-man rotation of the Pistons has absolutely killed them so far. Chuck Daly doing a superb job of rotating. We come back, we'll have the opening tip-off as the Detroit Pistons shoot for an NBA championship in Game 6.
CBS Sports coverage of the 1988 NBA Finals is sponsored by Miller Brewing Company, sole sponsor of the U.S. Olympic Training Centers. Atra Plus, Gillette made it smooth. And by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? CBS Sports presents The Prudential at the Half, sponsored by The Prudential, going above and beyond to meet your needs in insurance and other financial services.
So we are at the half of Game 6 with the Lakers in a game they must win, leading the Pistons 53-46. The best side of the first half for Pat Riley and the Laker coaching staff was Michael Cooper. Finally getting warm from the outside, and watch Cooper's reaction. He came into this game shooting only 3 of 28, and finally the Lakers get some production from the bench. And welcome back, everybody. I'm Brent Musburger. We're with the Prudential at the half. We want to quickly get you up to date with the baseball situation because the New York Mets almost had another no-hitter. David Cone pitching against the Philadelphia Phillies this afternoon in Shea Stadium. The Coneheads were out in force, and watch him here as he strikes out Juan Samuel. He took this no-hitter into the 8th inning with 2 outs. And the hitter was Steve Jeltz for the Phillies. A breakdown of what he had accomplished here this afternoon. And there it is, the first hit. He winds up with a 2-hitter and a shutout, 6-0, and the Mets now with easily the best record in the major leagues. The Cardinals and the Pirates are giving chase right now. The Pirates come up with a victory this afternoon at home, 3-2. Switching to the West, we had a glimpse of Dodger Stadium. They're a game up on Houston right now. Houston playing Atlanta, and that one's 5-4 in the 8th with Houston. Switching over to the American League East, the New York Yankees suddenly a little bit of difficulty over there. The Cleveland Indians beat them today 11-3. This could be a huge afternoon for Detroit. The Tigers still must score a couple of runs against Toronto if they want to pull this one out. If the Tigers win it, they would pull into first place. Now switching to the U.S. Open at the Country Club in Brookline. Curtis Strange is still ahead. Right now he has a stroke lead in that. He is through 10. And many of you watched the Detroit Grand Prix a little bit earlier today. And Senna of Brazil, his 3rd straight Detroit Grand Prix. Now let's switch the focus to the NBA. Two of the greatest big men to ever play the game. You remember them. Was Wilt Chamberlain and Bob Lanier. Chamberlain was the greatest scoring force who ever lived. 13 times a member of the NBA All-Star team. The Dipper was simply unstoppable. Bob Lanier came along midway through Chamberlain's great career, and he gave the Pistons a tremendous force also. 8 times an NBA All-Star. He finished out his great career with Milwaukee. And we welcome both of them here, Wilt and Bob. Wilt, what's your feeling about the first half of this game we're watching?
Well, I thought that the Lakers started to rebound, in the last part of the second quarter, and that turned it around for them. Of course, with Coop hitting that 3-point play, that might get them going.
I think so. Bob, your feeling about it?
I agree. Detroit started off with the good tempo, controlling the D real well. Then all of a sudden, Cooper hit that shot. Worthy, Byron Scott, and Magic kind of came together and put L.A. on the top right now at half.
Bob, is this a situation when the Lakers are out on front that they wrap up this game? Does it look like the Lakers all the way here in 6 to you?
Well, not really. I think Detroit has to get back to controlling the tempo. When L.A. plays well, all this crowd gets into the basketball game. Detroit can't afford to let them do that.
Wilt, your feeling about
You fight all year for the home court advantage. The Lakers now have it, and they have an edge at halftime. I think they'll go all the way. It's all about the home court.
Okay, we got a lot of basketball to talk about with Wilt Chamberlain and Bob Lanier, and we're going to come back and discuss it more here at the half. And we'll continue right after this message and a word from your local station. First period, the Pistons led the Lakers by 6, and now they trail it by 7, a 13-point swing. I'm with Wilt Chamberlain and Bob Lanier. Bob, you got to tell a great story. What it was like when you first played against Chamberlain, and how did he react to the rookie?
Well, I tell you, when I came in, he was my hero, my idol. He never talked to me, would not speak to me. Matter of fact, the first time we played against him, I was coming down on a fast break. Jerry West had the ball. He passed it to Wilt. Slam dunked it, had Wilson across my forehead. Then all of a sudden, 2 years later, I made the All-Star team. We were sitting on the dais together. He put his arm around me like this and said, "Big fella, you've arrived." I said, "Get your hand off my shoulder."
Hey, Wilt, give me your greatest 5 all-time centers. Give me your
5 all-time centers?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sitting next to one, Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Nate Thurman. Not in that order, because you're going to start right here, I think.
Yeah, all right. You were the great.
Well, let me tell you real quickly. You know, this guy played defense pretty good. You know, he put his foot on your foot, and you couldn't go in anywhere, even from a distance.
Hey, Wilt, how come we don't have any great centers today? Where are they?
Well, you have great centers, but the point guards have taken over the game. The little guys. They should something done with the little guys like yourself. They got too much power right now. You understand?
Hey, listen, both of you played against Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He's gone on forever. On this tape, we can see Bob Lanier coming down with that patented jump shot, hitting here against him. And then, of course, Wilt, you had some memorable duels against him. Bob, let me ask you, what was it like against Kareem?
He was probably, see, I caught Wilt at the end of his career, and Wilt didn't.
Be kind now, be kind.
Well, you didn't want to score at that point. You just wanted to do what you had to do to win. Kareem was difficult because he could score all the time. He was quick, and he impacted the game both offensively and defensively. Tough for me to handle.
What about Kareem's skills now, Will? Where do they stand?
I think they've diminished a great deal. I think maybe the man should have retired about 5 years ago. But when I played against him, he was the greatest scorer I've ever seen. You know, but he's out there making $3 million a game. I'm making like absolutely nothing. So I really can't talk about him, except I think it's time for him, you know, to join me. Hey, and maybe you.
Well, how about this Laker team with the Laker teams you played on? How does it compare, really?
Well, I don't think this one compares at all. I think the 76 team of 67, 68 was the best team I've ever played against. But the Laker team did more or less the 72 team I've ever seen. This is a great team, but not that great.
Bob, how about the Piston team now here in the championship? You never got to win a ring. How does it compare with your Detroit team?
This team is a more athletic team than we were at the time. They have more athletes than we had. I think we played the game up here better overall because we did more things off the court.
If you were starting a franchise today, who's your #1 pick out of all the players in the NBA?
Well, I'll tell you, you won't believe this, but I like Johnny Stockton. I think he's the most complete person in his position. But Magic Johnson is still my favorite because he's 8 inches bigger.
All right.
It's the sunlight.
Who would you take, Barry?
That young man that's out there now, Magic Johnson. I mean, he would be my first choice, whatever happened.
Listen, expansion teams, you guys are both in pretty good shape. Bob, you want to...
I told him already.
I'm in great shape.
He show that gut one time.
How's the tennis game, big fella?
Well, tennis game by next year, Wimbledon or the U.S. Open by next year.
You think?
And you know I'm the blackjack in golf, so no need be said.
Bob and Wilt, we could talk all afternoon, but we got a second half coming up. So nice to see you two guys. One a Hall of Famer, the other certainly headed in that direction. Coming up now, Dick Stockton and Billy Cunningham will be back with the second half. The Detroit Pistons and the Los Angeles Lakers on CBS.
The Prudential at the half has been sponsored by The Prudential, going above and beyond to meet your needs in insurance and other financial services.
7. What an effort by the world champions.
Sensational individual effort by Isaiah Thomas, who scored 43 in the game and 25 in the third quarter, and only the second time in these playoffs the Detroit Pistons have lost a game after leading after 3 quarters. Final score, Lakers 103, Pistons 102, and for the first time in NBA history, one team will be forced to play 3 7-game series for the World Championship. Right now, let's go to Pat O'Brien. Pat?
Well, you know, anytime that you're in the championship series, it's not going to be easy. You know, going in against them, it wasn't going to be easy. But this is what it's all about, you know, when you can come down to 7 games, and let's see who the best team is.
What did Riley say to you guys in the last 14 seconds of the last time out?
Well, the only thing we wanted to do was play good defense and not foul. And I thought we did that. We made him take an off-balance shot and got to rebound and won the game.
Do you guys like 7 games this year, 7-game series this year?
I think, I guess so, you know. It's kind of tough, though. But you know what? I'm happy to be playing 7. It's what it's all about. I should pay the NBA or CBS for letting me play 7 games.
All right, there's Magic. He's happy. Let's go to Brent.
All right, Pat, thank you. Isaiah Thomas turned in one of the clutch performances here, but it was not to be in Game 6. Isaiah, your reaction to what happened at the end of the game?
You know, we missed a couple of key blockouts. You know, little things hurt us tonight, but we got another game Tuesday. Just come back and play hard again. Try to keep them under 100 and win the basketball game.
Isaiah, which of your many injuries almost kept you out of the game? We had an ankle, we had an eye problem.
I'm playing.
All right, Isaiah, congratulations. Let's go back outside now to Dick Stockton.
All right, Brent, thank you very much. So for Billy Cunningham, Brent Musburger, and Pat O'Brien, I'm Dick Stockton saying so long from the Forum, where the Lakers, down by 3 points, got a basket from Scott and 2 big free throws from Kareem to win the game today. Join us Tuesday night on CBS for the 7th and deciding game of the NBA Finals. Coverage begins at 9 Eastern with the Lakers again hosting the Pistons here at the Forum. The NBA on CBS is a presentation of CBS Sports.